It is UFC light heavyweight Modestas Bukauskas. The Baltic Gladiator returns to action on November 4th, looking to get another win, keep this momentum going. It's 4 straight. It's 2 in the UFC. Well, what's the energy like right now as you're getting ready for this appearance?
Energy is very good. I'm actually, I'm coming off of a shoulder surgery. I'm coming off of a nose surgery. Two things which needed to get done quite desperately after all the years of fighting. It does accumulate after a little while. So I'm actually feeling like I'm peaking at the right time. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm peaking right when I should. I feel like maybe in other training camps I'm almost like already like getting towards like the top of my my fitness and my physique and everything, like almost like 4 weeks in advance and stuff like that. And then I'm just sort of maintaining. But now I feel like everything's going to come together at the right time, right when it needs to be. And I'm definitely feeling the dark sort of energy kind of coursing through. I've been enjoying a lot of time on my own. I've kind of just, I mean, I even went to the cinema by myself to watch Saw. Now, like, if that's not psychotic, then I don't really know what is. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I've just kind of, I've been in a good place. I've got good people around me. I've had good training partners, and I feel like I've been leveling up bit by bit, leading up to the fight.
That is awesome, and that is entirely psychotic, by the way. But that is awesome. So the choice to get some surgeries done, was that a tough one for you? I mean, to take some time to get all that done, was that a tough decision?
It wasn't really, because obviously, I kind of felt it in bits and bobs in last fights and stuff like this, and maybe it had an effect from those fights. Definitely the nose for sure. So as you can tell, it's a little bit straighter than before. But yeah, like I feel like now I'm sort of at a point where physically I'm able to take on the demands of my training even better. It was kind of like I need to get these done straight away, but when will I fight next? And I was kind of hoping maybe I would fight maybe a little bit later. But it just so happened that this spot opened up, and I was like, listen, we'll see what the deal is. We'll see what the crack is. We'll see what my recovery is like. If the doctors say I'm good to go, I'm good to go. And I think to everyone's surprise, I was good to go a lot earlier than expected, as with all of my recoveries. So I guess I'm thankful and blessed that I have some sort of, I don't know, some sort of Viking genes from my dad or something that's helping me to heal a lot faster. So yeah, it's good.
That is awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, that's interesting to hear, right? Because, I wondered, I mean, look at this date. It's UFC Fight Night 231. It's in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's 1 year exactly from your Cage Warriors return, right? And I wondered if there was something almost poetic about that date, but it sounds like you kind of didn't even want that date. But I almost wondered if it was something you were like, oh, this is written in the stars, like I'm supposed to fight on this date.
Do you know what? I didn't even realize that until you brought it to my attention just now. So I actually thank you for that. It's even more poetic now in my head. It like brings everything more into motion than it already had. Thank you, John. I appreciate you, bro. That like, you know what? It's mad. It generally didn't even clock in my head that it was exactly a year onwards from that, and it's mad because I'm also a completely different fighter. Not only was I already a completely different fighter in that particular fight, that was a fight where I couldn't really sort of, I don't know, I couldn't really get going, but at the same time, it was my first fight back after like a massive injury. Weirdly enough, this is another fight after, technically you could say, an injury or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the stars are aligning. Maybe everything's supposed to be this way. You know what I mean? And it's exciting, man. Like I say, it's very exciting. The fact that I'm going again into enemy territory. And this just adds to the story now. Do you know what I mean? Now that you said that, this just adds another block onto what this amazing year will have been.
It is. It's pretty incredible when you think about it. And so, all right, so we've got the poetic license there. Now we're talking about, as you said, going to enemy territory. I'm curious because you've had a little bit of a world travel, right? I mean, Europe, you're used to fighting in, but, Vegas, Australia, since you've come back, you've done Abu Dhabi before. Now this is Brazil. And I wondered, if maybe it's a little bit exciting because I don't know. I still view Brazil as kind of like this special place when it comes to like the home of MMA and where it kind of all began. And do you still see it that way? Like, is this a little something special to get an opportunity to compete in Brazil against a Brazilian opponent?
It's definitely very special. I mean, this is now the third time that I'm going in, into foreign lands to pick up a win. I fought an Australian in Australia, fought an American in America, and I'm going to fight a Brazilian in Brazil. So it's almost like in my head, this is my sort of plotting of conquering faraway lands. Do you know what I mean? So this is now just adding to that list. I think it's absolutely amazing that I get to go to another beautiful country. Like I say, I've actually trained there once before, ages ago when I was 21 at Team Nogueira. So yeah, it is a very beautiful country. It's a very different country completely. The fans are definitely very hostile. They get behind their fighters quite strongly. So I know that will be something that I'll have to expect going in there. It's just nice to again sort of go to another country. Like I say, just add to the resume, add to the story, add to everything that's been going on. Do you know what I mean? I've literally been traveling all over the world, so it's definitely something nice and special. But I will say this: once I get this win in Brazil, I'm definitely looking to get my shot to fight on a London card, because I feel like I would have earned it after a win here. Fighting three guys in their home turf with their advantages. You know what I mean? People don't look at the Australia fight, even now to this day, that I came there on Wednesday at 4 a.m. Do you know what I mean? I had a massive cold, on after the flight, after all that air conditioning, all this going on. I had to fight on the Sunday, had to cut weight on my birthday. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people don't see the fact that I'm having to, do sort of very extreme sort of things. I had to go into a fight at the Apex with the demons still lurking in the subconscious of what happened, when I had fought there previously. So, there's a lot of things that I had to sort of overcome. And now I'm going again into another country, having to overcome more. But I do kind of like it, like I say, I do feel like a traveler and a conqueror, going into enemy lands, foreign lands, going out there and, just taking what's mine, taking their riches. You know what I mean? It's almost that sort of vibe that's going into it. Obviously just philosophically, not literally, but yeah, it kind of adds to this warrior spirit and mentality that's been sort of running and coursing through my body ever since I've made this comeback. And it's definitely very sharp and vibrant going into this fight. I'm looking forward to it.
I love it. I love the way you laid out there, because it is this weird thing with MMA, right? Like, it is a sport, and we want everybody in the world to know it's an amazing sport. It's amazing competition. But at the end of the day, it's hand-to-hand combat. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's happening there. And so it's like you have to kind of strike that balance of remembering, yes, this is an athletic endeavor, but don't go in there thinking this is a sport. Like, this is a man that's trying to do damage to you once that cage door is locked. And so I love that you're going in there with that warrior mentality. That's that kind of psychotic mentality that leads you to go see Saw by yourself in a movie theater. Right?
Yeah, exactly. They're all interlinked. But you know what? I also see it like this. Because this is like pretty much like the earliest form of what the gladiators would have been. Do you know what I mean? This is just now like the modern day era. We're not fighting to the death. We're fighting, obviously for the rewards that come with it. But the gladiators back in the day were fighting for their reward, and their reward was their freedom. And I definitely feel like, again, going into another land, going into another man's territory where his home country is going to be backing him and stuff like this. It's almost like, again, Rocky IV, him going into Russia with Drago. So this is me going into Brazil. And there's one quote from the film that really rings true with this whole experience, which is you win the crowd, you win your freedom. How do you win the crowd? You go and beat the hometown boy. You put on an absolute amazing, spectacular performance, throw out all crazy techniques. That's the only way you're going to win the crowd. Because I know when I go in there, people are going to be booing me. People are going to be, saying, what do they say? You're going to die.
Vai morrer, you're going to die.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They're going to be saying all sorts. And I really do appreciate that, though. I appreciate that they get so behind the sport and obviously their hometown people. That's what you want. You want your hometown people to be like they're rooting for you, and I feel like that will give me almost like it'll actually give me energy and vibrancy myself to go out and shut everyone down. Do you know what I mean? To shut down the crowd and put them on my side. And the only way you're going to do that is if you go out there and do something spectacular. So that really does motivate me.
That is awesome, man. That's definitely the way to approach it. All right, let's talk about the matchup itself with Vitor Petrino. Interestingly enough, he's 2-0 this year. He fought a couple weeks after you each time that you fought. So I kind of wondered if he was on your radar at all. I mean, I know there's so many guys in the division, but I know sometimes when you get a fight in, you can relax, you can watch some fights, and then you happen to see somebody in your division. You're like, I bet I'm going to run into that guy at some point. So was this guy on your radar at all?
Yeah, 100%. I'd seen that obviously he come up through the Contender Series. I saw that he's been doing pretty good. I saw other fighters in the division that were potential opponents. Weirdly enough, Tyson Pedro got matched up with that Swedish fella. I'm not 100%. Yeah, that's the one, Anton Turkali. So again, it's all like kind of within the same sort of circle. Obviously, Turkali fought Petrino, and then Petrino fought Prachnio, and Prachnio would have been another like potential opponent as well, outside of the top 15 and stuff like this. So yeah, he's been someone that's been on my radar. I think this was one of the names I actually put forward to my manager, because again, you got to work your way up the ladder. I think on the rankings, he's like 2 above me or something like that. So again, it only logically makes sense for me. This is another step up in competition, another completely different style, and it'll be another good test for me to go and prove myself to again work my way up the light heavyweight ladder.
I love it, man. Well, like you said, going into enemy territory, this would be a big one, and then London, I guess, I mean, kind of March is what we always expect, right? I mean, we don't necessarily know for sure, but that's kind of just always the expectation. Does that seem about right for you? Could you make that turnaround to, if it is March, kind of like is the annual tradition?
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? I don't actually put too much pressure on things. We don't even know what the schedule is going to look like going forward with the UFC, like in terms of where they're going to be hosting their international events and stuff like this. So, there might be another opportunity that comes up a little bit earlier. That would be a great thing. If I go out of here unscathed, you know me, I love to fight. I mean, as all of us fighters love to fight. I'd like to get in there, obviously, as soon as possible. I think from one side, I do want to get there in there as soon as possible, but also you don't know what kind of improvements you need to make or certain things. These are all things that are in the fight game that, sometimes in the off season, that is the perfect time to just level up in certain areas where this is why I made so many improvements within that year that I was out after the injury, and I was able to implement that into my game going forward. So, like I say, but I don't put too much pressure on it. I see how things go. But of course, that is the most logical next step for me. It's always been a dream of mine to fight at the O2 in front of a hometown crowd. Now, when you got gigs talking the hardest, blaring out in those speakers for the English crowd, that's just going to make everyone go nuts. Do you know what I mean? Especially for a UFC event where I don't think it's been played by any. I think maybe by Jimmy Manuel it was played before, but yeah, like I say, it's like a proper it's one of like the top UK, like, do you know what I mean, UK tracks, and to have that blaring out in the speakers, fight in front of your hometown where they're actually cheering for you as opposed to booing you. These are all amazing experiences that I do envision myself. I've always envisioned going out into a hometown crowd and have people coming out here and like clapping my hands and everything. So yeah, like I say, we just let everything unfold. We control what we can control right now, and then we let things unfold. But like I say, I do definitely see that very clearly up here.
That's awesome. Well, listen, man, you have worked your ass off to get that opportunity, man. It has been a magical year after I know it was a very, very tough stretch for you, man. So much continued success. We'll be tuned in on November 4th, and hopefully you can go conquer once again and then maybe get the homecoming early next year.
100%. You got the whole plan written out, my man. And like I say, I really appreciate you. Thank you for always being such a cool guy, man. I always love talking to you. So I appreciate you, brother.